reason that I'm here is because the club is seeking change.
He said, well, whether you come or not, you're going to see a completely different Spurs team under me.
My hope and my desire and what I'm going to try and do is give our supporters hope and belief that we're going to embark on something special. I'm delighted with many things and super proud of the lads. Look, you're playing away from home, quarter-final against a very good side. You're going to have to work really hard and be well organised and disciplined, and also, we needed to score tonight, so we needed to show the quality we have as well. And to a man, I just thought they were outstanding. So proud of them that in such a big game, they delivered a performance that means we're through to the semi-final. And I think over the two legs, I think we deserve to go through. Tie could well have been over in the first leg, but again, we've earned the right to be in the semi.
Welcome into the Tottenham Depot. I am your host, Andrew. You can follow me at Stetka. You can follow us at Tottenham Depot. And yes, that was Ange Postecoglou, who still has a job after today. We are here to talk about Spurs in a European semifinal for the first time since 2019. My goodness. We've got Scott alongside to do it with. He is at Scott G. Bird. Scott, what is up, my friend?
Am I Ange in again? I don't know.
Are you?
I don't know. But no, my primary question that I want to ask is, are we mathematically out of the Premier League title?
Yes. Unfortunately, we are not going to win the Premier League title, but still up in the Europa League, and that is a good thing, obviously. So
Indeed.
We'll roll with that. Caroline is also here. She is at CG Stefko. Caroline, I normally say, how's your Sunday, but how's your Thursday?
Good, I suppose. Yeah, it feels strange to be potting on a Thursday, but I do, regret to inform Scott that we are still mathematically capable of being relegated. So that feels a little pertinent, but it's obviously we're much happier for today's episode.
Hey, look, we said many moons ago that if we finished 17th and won the Europa League, we'd be super happy. And Todd's here to confirm that these conversations have happened and we're well on track.
Yeah, we also said we were not talking about the Premier League during this podcast, and you brought it up within the first 2 minutes. So what the hell, man? Todd is also with us. He is at TC_Show, and I know he is fired up. TC, what is up, my man?
Any day, brother, any day you can talk about Tottenham Hotspur being a European competition semifinalist is a good fucking day, and I am here for it.
I'm here for it too. You know what else I'm here for is Digital Spurs. Reminding everybody, head on over to digitalspurs.com for some Tottenham merch, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, crew necks, all kinds of different stuff. If you're watching us on YouTube, you see Todd holding up his Tottenham hat right there. I've got mine right here behind my microphone. There it is. Tottenham. Probably wear that to hit the links tomorrow. We'll see. But yeah, head on over to digitalspurs.com. We love the stuff that Danny puts together. Go find some Tottenham merch for a Europa League Cup run. Guys, there's one topic today, and look, we're doing a pod on Thursday because of the weird schedule. We warned you. We told you last week we're gonna pod tonight, win or lose, and hey, it's a win. It's a 1-0 win for Spurs in Frankfurt in what was just a damn fun match to watch. Like, this was European Cup football to a T. Scott, I know you've got plenty to accomplish this evening. You've got a baby and dinner and all that stuff. So I want to let you get all your takes off right off the bat here. What did this make you feel, man? Because I know you said it. Am I in? Take the reins there. What are you feeling after this?
Look, there is some jest in that statement, but I think that the first thing we have to take away from this match is just what a wonderful job Ange Postecoglou did today. He did things that many, including myself, have maybe accused him of not doing enough or even not being able to do. I don't think I've ever felt that he wasn't able to make the type of adjustment that we saw today, but maybe unwilling to. And that begs the question, are the Premier League and the Europa League two different things? And they are, right? So Ange Postecoglou did a really good job today and deserves a lot of credit for the way that he set his side up. Now, I do have to point out that I think we had a really tough time progressing the ball until Kulusevski came on the field. And so inadvertently, Madison did the best thing he could ever do for the team by, one, winning the penalty, and then two, making way for Kulusevski. And I'm not saying Madison needed to make way, but he was the one who happened to make way for Kulusevski. And
So glad you brought that up.
You guys are trying to get me to fight you this week.
No, dude,
on James Madison right now.
Look, I'm not saying that James Madison was a problem, but somebody had to make way for Kulusevski for things to work, and he just happened to earn a penalty in the process of making way for Kulusevski, right? So, Kulusevski was fantastic. We've said it how many times on this pod. The only way we're capable of progressing the football up the field is through Kulusevski, and that rang quite true today. I think he changed everything, and Decky deserves a lot of credit, especially late in the match, right? When he ate the clock up in ways that really only Decky can do. So huge display from him, huge display from Madison flying into that tackle. I don't want to take too much off the table because there's plenty to go around. And I know Todd and Carolyn had plenty to say here too, but Madison flying into that header the way he did was just warrior-like. And I got to give him a lot of credit for that too. But look, Kulusevski, Madison, we can talk about whomever we want. Ange Postecoglou deserves a lot of credit today for the way that he saw his team through to the semifinal of the European tournament. And Spurs in the last decade, we'll say, but actually 6 years, have now been in a Champions League final and a Europa League semifinal, and that's nothing to turn your nose up at either, right? And as Todd said, a great day.
Yeah, 8 semifinals in 10 years is somewhere in there when you're talking about club and domestic and European. Scott, we're going to have the Madison Decky conversation, and I'm excited to get Andrew fired up early in the pod. But I do want to take the time to say that I agree that there were strong showings for me, my standout was Romero, despite his 97th minute poor decision-making. What I thought he put in one of the most complete center back shifts that we've seen in his tenure at Tottenham. And I was very excited that he handled things the way that he did. He did pick up that stupid yellow, so I don't know how that it affects his availability for the first leg in the next round.
He'll be available.
Resets.
Okay. It resets. Yeah. Okay. But my issue with James Madison, first and foremost, I'm so glad he's okay. I thought they killed him. I thought it was rough when that man went down and folded in half backwards. I was like, that could be concussion protocol, bro. I don't even know.
He looked more like he got folded in half than even hit in the head, which
just
is
like
which
a hip
is
injury, if anything.
And Ange did say, after the match that he seemed to be fine. Took him off precautionary, which is all great. I think the other thing that Ange said was, why the hell were we having to go to VAR on that? It was insane that was even a question.
Yeah, agreed.
Agreed. But that's where we are.
About Madison, here's my issue, and I've been thinking a lot about this.
Wait a second, Todd. I'm going to stop you right there. Why are we starting this podcast bitching about James Madison? That is not where I directed things, or like as the host, I am taking charge. We're not going to sit here and bitch about James.
I'm not bitching about James Madison. I just want to make one point, and I'm happy to move on.
All right, go ahead.
James Madison is not the best at anything on the pitch. Someone else in the squad is better at everything that he does. Go ahead.
Sounds a little bit like bitching at James Madison, but that's fine.
It's certainly not. I'm just saying he's not the best at free kicks. He's not the best at corners. He's not the best at progressing the ball. He's not the best at hold up play. He's not the best at assisting even.
He's also a big reason as to why Spurs are going to be playing in a semifinal in May. And not, I'm not taking anything away from him. Caroline, I want to bring you in on this because these gentlemen just want to talk about James Madison, and I'm sure you have some much more interesting things to say about this match. What are you feeling right now? Let's go there.
Guys, I want to start by saying I am happy that we advanced. I think relief maybe might be my primary emotion. Because y'all know I wasn't feeling really confident going into this one, honestly.
It was.
And well, exactly. And I think part of it is that I expected more from Frankfurt. I think they really let themselves down in this home leg for themselves. So I feel like we got maybe a little fortunate in that aspect. At the same time, we still had to show up, and I feel like the players did that pretty much across the board. Maybe I have a couple of quibbles here and there, but yeah, I do have a slight concern about the fact that, we're still not being as efficient in front of goal as we would like to see from this team. And it did take a penalty, to win this leg and win the tie. So that's like a minor concern for me just going ahead. Like, are we going to see, getting closer to our full attacking potential by the time the semifinal shows up, which really isn't that far away in the grand scheme of things.
No, it's not.
So I feel like, we said we weren't going to talk about the Premier League, but I do kind of hope that we use these 2 games that we have before the home leg of the semifinal to get back into form. Because yes, this was a win, a much needed win, but I don't feel like we're, where we want to be overall.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I hear everything you're saying, and I tend to agree with you. I mean, I've been probably the most vocal about Spurs being just a shit team for months now, right? But in these knockout competitions, like, sometimes you just find a way to win a gritty football match. And so I agree. I mean, we're going to have to find some goals. It did take a penalty today. We created opportunities, albeit mainly from set pieces, which is pretty surprising for this group, right?
A lot of missed headers off of corners, right?
Yeah, but a gritty football win today. They're right back. That clown that tried to drag Tell up when he was legitimately injured early in the match. That dude missed a couple of sitters, and I think if we're playing a better team, and Frankfurt's good. I don't mean to say that any which type of way, but a better team probably takes 1 or 2 of their chances. But Spurs created them too. And then the other thing that makes me actually a little more confident than I was prior to being in the semifinal is that if Kulusevski's back, I think we're going to start to cook a little bit. And Romero and Van de Ven both played really well today. So if we can get all 3
and Udogie as well.
Udogie was my man of the match. He was fantastic.
Yeah, same.
Honestly, I want to praise the entire back. I'm not going to say 4 or 5 because Vicario included in that I thought was good.
Mm-hmm.
Like all 5 of those guys were so in sync and so together. Udogie was. I said it before we started recording. I think that this was Udogie's one of his best games as a member of this club, and certainly had to be his best game of this season because he's not had a great season, but he really, really stepped up in this match. I want to go back really quickly to the point that Caroline started on, which was we didn't really expect much from this. And Ange in his pre-match press conference almost took this attitude, and I read some of the quotes and listened to some of the quotes, and it was like, the way that he was trying to build up the locker room for this match in treating it as, look, we know the season hasn't gone the way that we want it to, but there's still an opportunity here to do something, to get something out of what has just been a shit season, I thought was the right way to play this. And they did kind of, it felt like, go into this with a little bit of an attitude of this is a free hit. Like, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but we have to put everything into this. And Caroline, to your point, yeah, I don't think Frankfurt were great. They were unbeaten in Europe at home this season in 11 matches. This is the first time, I believe somebody even said it was the first goal at home that they had allowed in Europe this season. Like, insane.
No, it was the first time that they had not scored a goal at home all year.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I did not want to get that wrong. Like, there was some of that, but this I thought was a really, it was a team effort for the first time since the City match. Like, it was a very complete effort in what we knew was going to be a tough environment. Hell, when and we're going to get, I've got the yellow legal pad out. Like, I took notes during the game. We're going to run down the list. But like, one of the first things on here was, oh boy, is this rain going to be a factor? Like, that alone was just like, oh my gosh, I can easily see Udogie slipping or Romero scuffing one and just shit going terribly just because of the elements, Todd.
Well, you made reference to headers being flashed wide multiple times today, and I think the rain had a lot to do with that, man.
Sure, you very well might be right.
Yeah,
And also that chance that Tell couldn't quite get his foot on, I think
there were a
probably that
couple
was
of
a factor
those
too.
for sure.
yeah,
For
but
sure.
Look like a winger's finish.
But even we can talk about chances, missed chances, whatever. I think the only thing that I'm thinking about right now is the Spurs. Ange Postecoglou's Spurs put in a defensive masterclass today, and that's the biggest talking point from all of this. I watched a ton of talking heads after the match, right? Probably an hour of Golazo Network, and then flipped over to ESPN FC, and everybody was just talking about the defensive masterclass that Ange Postecoglou put in today, or his squad did, right? But he set them up to be able to do so, and I think it really has people feeling, myself included, that Spurs can go and win this thing, right? Because of how they played today. I think if they didn't show me that they were capable of doing that, I wouldn't feel good about things. But like I just said the last time I was speaking, knockout football matches come down to gritty performances sometimes. And if we're capable of, it's 3 more football matches to win a trophy. That's it, right? And if we can grind our way through 3 football matches, anything's possible.
Scott, that is such a great point because of the defense. Like when I went to look at the statistics after this match was over, I was a little like, oh, they did put in a defensive masterclass. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the possession numbers, but especially if you look at the second half possession numbers, Spurs did not have much of that ball. And when they got it, there were certainly opportunities to score in the second half, but this was not Ange ball in the second half. They were trying to preserve a 1-0 lead. And that's exactly what they should have been doing. And they did it very, very well. And that's what I thought, like for all the people who want to say Ange doesn't have plans or doesn't have a B plan or a C plan, like, no, this is kind of what we saw. We knew especially because of what you're talking about, Scott, like the environment, all the factors, just everything going against this team. Like they very easily could have come out in the second half. And I'll be honest, I'll go to the yellow legal pad right here. The first 10 minutes of that second half were erratic as shit. And I was terrified. And Todd, I know what you're going to say. Go ahead. Like, that's when we're most vulnerable. I saw it in the group chat. So yeah.
Yeah, I just dropped in the chat, like, we're most vulnerable, especially when we have a lead, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
We're most vulnerable in the first 10 minutes of the second half. I don't know why it is. I don't know what it is. But we just come out a little lackadaisical sometimes. And we were 6s and 7s. We were 6s and 7s at the back for the first 10 minutes of this half.
Yeah.
There's a second half. So
you're right about that. I want to, Caroline, I want to ask you about Tell and Todd, I know you really love Tell on the wing. And I do. I loved this performance from Tell, but it also comes at the expense. We haven't mentioned Heung-min Son's name, and he was a miss for this game. Didn't even travel to Germany. Like, I'm curious as to what we think of. Well, that's where I'm getting to. I'm curious as to what we think about the fact that if Son was healthy, Tell probably doesn't play in this match, or doesn't start at least. He probably comes on for Sonny 60 minutes in or whatever. But man, I think the cool thing about this match is that we've talked about all the different performances: Romero, Udogie, Van de Ven. I thought some of the midfielders were very good, even at moments in this game, even though we have a lot of problems in the midfield. But Tell's another one that I could easily have said man of the match performance because he was so good and on the ball. Caroline, obviously you've seen Tell being a Bayern fan more than anyone. What did you think of this performance? Because I don't know that it was just being in Germany or what, but he looked so comfortable. This was the first match for me that he actually looked comfortable playing in this system.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned him playing in Germany because someone else was asking on Blue Sky if he had played at this stadium before. So of course I had to look it up, and this was actually
earlier this year.
Only his second time. Besides that game, but for Bayern, he had only played there once. He was an unused substitute in another fixture at the Waldstadion. But yeah, I think part of it was that he looked to just be playing with some freedom today. And I think part of that is knowing that Son was not in the match day squad, for better or worse. Like that kind of is that moment when he has to say, okay, this is my moment. I need to take it, show what I can do. And I agree with you. I think he put in a really strong performance. It's a tricky one with Son because it's very difficult to say that you're going to bench your captain in a quarterfinal second leg, if he was available, of course. But at the same time, I feel like that might have given the team a little bit of motivation overall, just knowing that they were playing to give Son that chance to be involved in the semifinal, hopefully. I mean, we don't have an update on, exactly how serious this foot concern is and, what his prognosis is. But I think today really what we saw was just commitment across the board, really, to stick to the plan, to get the most out of themselves individually. And I hope this means that Tell's going to get more chances as we get, to these last few fixtures of the season, and possibly beyond that, extending his loan into a permanent contract. But I guess we'll just have to see. But, I do think it's an interesting kind of hypothetical, like, would he have gotten this game time if Son had been available? And the truth is we don't know. And it's also one of my biggest frustrations with Ange is always his substitution strategy. Because, I feel like a lot of times he literally leaves subs on the table. Like he used or didn't use 2 of his available subs today. And that's frustrating to me because he constantly harps on about the need for rest and rotation in the squad.
But not in a knockout competition.
Right. I'm not going to have any problems with the subs today. I thought that, like, I was a little bit surprised that Jed didn't come on late just to give somebody a blow, whether Udogie or Porro, but they were both playing so well. Like, there weren't many. I mean, Odegaard. Honestly, and Todd, this is where I was going to go with you. Like, I'm wondering if Tell can play on the right, because the only player that I really want to dig out today was kind of a little bit of Brendan Johnson. I just thought he did not look up for it. But man, that's Scott. I could see you want to get off on that. Like, Johnson was a tough one for me today.
Well, they were. Go ahead, Scott.
Oh, sorry, Todd. I'll have to jump in a second. But the only thing I was going to say is I think Tell and Johnson can bleed into the same conversation here. I actually think that why Tell looks so comfortable and Brennan looks so uncomfortable is because the fullbacks weren't getting as high and inverting. And so I think that gave Tell all this extra room to work with, and that made Brennan have to work with more room, and he can't really do that. Brennan just needs to be stuffed into a square hole, and he'll do a good job there, right? So I think that's the main reason that both of those things took shape. And the last thing I'll say before I jump, we're talking about Son. We've talked about Madison a little bit. This maybe, I don't know if this is a hot take. I don't really feel like it is, but I think if you want to win this competition, I don't think Son or Madison start any of the next 3 matches in this competition. And that's kind of a wild thing. It's kind of a wild thing to say about Son maybe, but I thought Tell looked much more dangerous than Son has in a while. Son's producing goals. So like there's give and take there. And I don't know what Ange ends up doing, right? Son has produced goals this season, but Tell looked way more dangerous. And Madison, I only say that because Kulusevski has to start. If Kulusevski doesn't start any of the next 3 Europa League matches, then what are we even doing here? And I don't think that Madison and Kulusevski can play in the same midfield and have it be effective. So it's really harsh on James Madison. I'm a fan, and I think he's been important this season. But Kulusevski and Tell, I think, need to start the next 3 matches for us to compete and win this thing.
I don't hate that. I thought that we would see Brennan on the bench and Kulusevski on the right to start. But you're 100% correct. Invariably, when we play them both together, they end up clogging. Madison plays like a shadow striker. Decky has to do too much of the defensive lifting, and oftentimes gets caught deeper in the on the pitch and doesn't have the ability to make the final third run when we need him to. I don't know. I agree with you so very much, Scotty, in the sense that, like, this was not a game that was set up for Brennan. If anything, I wish we would have seen Odegaard. And so I don't know. I don't know, man. When you look at the Kulusevski situation of it all, we went through some stats in a couple of group chats this week about, what our defense looks like when Mickey and Christian start together and versus when they don't, when somebody else plays there. What I'd like you guys to do is just add in when Mickey, Christian, and Decky all start matches, what our wins and losses and goals against and goals for look like.
Oh, sure.
It is night and day.
It's insane. You're 100% right, TC. And look, here's the other thing about Decky. Decky helps, and this is going to transition me perfectly back to the yellow legal pad to talk about Dom Solanke for a minute, because not only did Dom bury the penalty, kudos to him. I had no problem with him taking it. But Dom Solanke's, this was also, in addition to Tell looking comfortable for the first time, this is the first time I really thought Dom Solanke's hold-up play was immaculate, because he wasn't always controlling the ball, but even just being able to head the ball back up into the air and allow more pressure and the press to settle in was really brilliant. And that ties perfectly into what Kulusevski can do, because he's the same kind of player. So when the ball was hoofed long, and look, you don't always have to build out the back as Tottenham Hotspur. I think that's something that they're learning. And it's taken them a damn long time to learn it. But like, Vicario can hoof it deep. If Dom can get ahead on it, at least this is what we saw in this particular match. Dom was getting a lot of head on it, and sometimes bring it down himself. But if he can get ahead on it and get someone else to surround, that's where I feel like personally this match was won, because not only was it good in the second half for killing the game, but that second ball that Kulusevski was able to get to, that Tell was able to get to, that even Bentancur or Sarr late in the match were able to get to, were so crucial to just killing the game, but also just maintaining a little bit more possession to allow yourself to reset and get set back up for whatever Frankfurt we're going to come at them with next. So I know I'm the Madison guy here, but I'm not the Madison guy over the Kulusevski guy by any stretch. I'm just let's stop expecting Madison to be something that he's not. I think that's where and I'm not saying that anyone here do that, but I think a lot of people get it in their head that Madison is something more than he actually is. Kulusevski, yes, you're right, changed the game without even really having to do all that much, just because of his ability to do all of those things. If you're not watching on YouTube, we have bidded a fond adieu to Scott. He had to dip. So you're not going to hear his voice for the rest of the pod, but we hope his dinner is extra special and delicious after a Spurs victory today. Guys, where do you want to go next? We can talk about Bodo. We could talk a little bit more about, we can go back to the yellow legal pad. This match to me was just, like I said, there's so many different compartments, and we knew we were going to do a pod kind of just on one match. So it's there's a lot of space to run. Todd, do you have somewhere you want to go? Other than my heart was in my throat for the second half, because all those missed chances made me feel like, my God, this is just going to break the wrong way. Like, that's exactly how I thought this was going to go. Like the Romero header, for example.
Wait. You're trying to tell me right now that you were glass half full?
No, I was not actually. No, in all honesty, I was not glass half anything. I was glass half nervous as hell, because like I have not watched a Spurs match like this in what feels like a while. Like, I know we had the AZ tie, but that was different than this one. This one
that was before an international break too, right? So that's why it felt like it was so long ago.
Well, it feels like it was. Not only does it feel like it was long ago, but it didn't even feel as intense as this one. Like, it felt more standard, and I do think,
which is wild, because we were down a goal going in the second leg. No.
Correct. But I had more confidence about that than I did this. I don't know if you guys felt similarly.
Well, yeah,
I did, because
Cass?
As much as I say Frankfurt didn't have a great game, they still have Ekatike, who's an incredible talent,
right?
And even
who was really good the second leg or the first leg.
Yeah, he was, and they even had what was his name, Christensen, that was doing his best to get himself sent off. He had like a hat trick of chances in that second half that all made me have my heart in my throat. Yeah. So, it's not like they didn't have their opportunities too. And there was also a moment where we were on the attack, and I felt like we had definitely the man advantage in that situation and did not even try to go for a goal.
I got very upset about that, because it immediately led to a chance for them.
Exactly. And I'm like, we have seen this story before, Tottenham. Please don't do this to me.
Well, and that's the other part of it. Exactly what you're talking about with all of the ref's going to play advantage, but did he? I don't think he did. And now there's a booking against us somehow when we had the break. Like that, those are all the breaks that I was like, oh, this is not going to go. Well, we're somehow going to blow this.
Yeah, the ref was like a whole other issue that it felt like we truly were in a situation where we were playing against 12 men because of him. And I don't like to be that cynical usually, but he was awful. And we're pretty lucky that it did not come back to bite us, honestly.
Yeah, it was a tough look. I want to transition into talking about Ange a little bit more. The last thing on the old legal pad though was the switch to the 5-3-2 when Danso came on late.
Love it.
Which, thank you. That's basically all I wanted to say too, Todd. Like, love it. Like, pack it in, hoof it deep. I'm fine with that kind of ball in this situation. Not everything has to be, free flowing, like high flying.
When you get a
ball,
1-0
like
lead
this,
in a
right.
European knockout competition, like you got to figure out how to bring in the closer. And our closer is Kevin Danzo, and Romero with freaking captain's armband shithousing his way to a 1-0 victory.
By the way, I didn't realize Kevin Danso, because I didn't really look at I watched this game not live. I watched it after, and I did not realize Danso was even healthy or on the bench. So seeing him run onto the pitch, I was like, wait, who the hell's number 4? Like they put the board up and I was like, do we have a number 4? I don't even remember, because he's only been with us obviously a brief time. And I'm like, who's wearing 4? Oh, wait, that's Danso. It was like a delightful surprise that he was even healthy for this match for me. So I thought that was great. Look, let's get to this. Ange was asked after the match, right at the tail end, and this was great in his post-match presser. He was asked about his confidence, basically, and the team's confidence in him. Obviously, had this match not gone this way, we would have probably had to wait till tomorrow for the Ange has been sacked tweet to be posted to do our podcast, but it's not going to be, obviously, after this. But I want to listen to Ange and get your guys' reaction. I don't know if you guys have heard this, but if you haven't, let's listen to Ange and what he had to say at the very end of his press conference today.
I think I said yesterday, I'm the same manager today that I was yesterday. So if people think that us winning tonight makes me a better manager, whoever didn't think I was doing a good job yesterday should be feeling the same way today. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect what I do. For me, it's always about the dressing room, Do the players believe? Do the staff believe? That's much more important than what others may, make of me. So, unfortunately for a lot of you, you're going to have to put up with me for a little bit longer, mate. So, we'll just see how that goes.
Now, Caroline, I know that you heard the end of that and kind of scoffed at the perhaps pompousness of it, but I loved it. I thought it was like, sorry guys, I'm still. It was the perfect amount for me, at least, of snarky, petty, fuck you to the media, frankly. And some of the questions in this press conference too were very.
They always are. It's just when they come after a loss, people put up with that shit.
Yeah, but
this
Caroline,
is ridiculous. For me, this is ridiculous.
But Caroline, where are we at? I know you were, as of last week, you were very much ready for him to go. I take it you're probably still gonna be ready for him to go if this does not turn out the right way, which I think is totally fair and fine. But like, what did you think of the pettiness?
Well, it's funny you say that, because as he was making that remark about, those of you who don't think I was a good coach before today probably still feel the same. It's not that I don't think he's a good coach. I just don't think he's a great coach. I think there's a distinction, and, I would like for us to have a little more ambition. Yeah, I don't know. I know I'm in the vast minority of the fan base in feeling like I don't think all this banter with the media is cute. Like, it just annoys me, frankly. And I think he's also playing with fire, because, if we don't win this competition, he's going to have to answer for it. And, he's going to have rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, I should say. So, yeah, I don't know.
I think all that's extremely fair. I'm in this moment when everyone knew that, like, he was done if they didn't advance. Like, I was kind of fine with the see you guys in Norway type of attitude.
But my perspective on Ange is that, like, my favorite part about him as a person, as a manager, is that he's consistent. He is unabashedly authentic in everything that he does. And he has done an exceptional job this season of putting up with a terrible media. And hey, are you getting sacked this week? Hey, I heard you're getting sacked this week. Hey, you're probably not going to have a job next week. Did you hear who they're going to bring in to replace you? What do you think about those rumors? Like, these are the types of things that this man has had to deal with for 8 months. I don't care what you do, what kind of profession you have. If somebody gives you that type of shit weekly, regardless of whether you win or lose, for 8 months, 9 months, you're going to come to the end of your rope. Especially when you win, you get to jab back a little bit.
That's fair. I still don't like it. I still think I'd rather him focus on the positives and be the bigger person, but that's just me.
And you know what? There were a lot of positives to focus on, at least from this match, which I think is like the grander point. Like, and I guess when we look back, however this does turn out, however this cup run does turn out, and let's say it turns out that they're actually lifting silverware at the end. Like, let's just like dare to dream for a minute, because as we mentioned, it's literally 3 matches away from that possibility. I think that when we look back, we're going to realize this guy kind of has been stitching things together with scotch tape and bubble gum for the better part of a year and a half when it comes to his squad. And it has been an extremely bumpy and not fun ride for many of us. But if you can get to the other side and look back at maybe there's like light at the end of this tunnel, and maybe like if they can play matches like they did here, if they can continue to maybe show a little something with the bodies back and the cohesion, I don't know. I know that like we have all been in different places, and I when I say we, I mean the collective we as supporters of this club. When it comes to this guy, I've been extremely down the middle, and part of that is just trying to like play host and let you guys like share the more opinion stuff. But like, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Let's find out. Like, I want to see it. I still want to see something, obviously, but for now, I'm totally like, let's just go. It's very much like the scene in the movie Major League. For those who never see, it's like, let's go win the whole fucking thing. Like that's all you need to do. And that's what
There's only one thing left to do, Andrew.
Win the whole fucking thing. Like, that's what I'm talking about. And that's kind of the mindset. So looking ahead to that, it is not going to be Lazio on the other side of this. It is Bodo Glimt. I'm going to say that and mumble that as best I can. Norwegian side. Spurs will host the first leg on May 1st. Return leg will be up in Norway in a place on that I didn't know existed until earlier today, and am cold just thinking about it. The return leg a week later on May 8th. What do you guys think? I actually, Scott filled me in on what happened in all of the other matches, because like I said, I wasn't able to watch live today, and I was like mouth agape at everything that went on in the other quarterfinals that mattered, including Manchester United getting by Lyon. And they will face Bilbao in the other semifinals. So what do we think going forward? Because this feels very, very doable. Let's be honest.
Well, I'm going to say 3 things here, always 3. First thing, our friend of the pod, Matty Hayes, made the very astute point on Twitter that you're going to underestimate Bode at your own peril.
Of course.
Because they're outstanding at home, first and foremost, because they play on a plastic pitch in front of their moms and grandmas and kick the crap out of people. Shout to Nana. But to be fair, the thing that I'm way more worried about, I'm not looking past them by any stretch of the imagination, is the second point. We play not great at home without pressure. We play terrible at home with pressure. So, I especially of late. And so I'm over here going, well, it's good that we're at home and, it's the first leg so that maybe we can come in with a little energy and, ring it up, run up the score a little bit, as opposed to the Champions League match that you and Dakota watched a few years ago, Andrew, where all you needed to do was get a goal and you settled for a 0-0 draw under Conte. I think
that was an atmosphere that nobody wanted to be a part of.
No,
Like,
and that's my whole point.
Yeah.
I think despite the fact that we don't like the fact that we have to go to Bode for the second leg, I think it actually bodes well for us here.
You did it.
Yeah. In the fact that I think we get to go in there with a little bit of a lead, and so that maybe we can rotate a little bit better. Maybe we can keep some people healthy. Maybe we can not shred center back hamstrings on plastic pitches. To be honest with you, the thing that I'm worried the most about is Bilbao, who is actually quite a fine football team, smacking Manchester United about the head and shoulders over 2 legs, and then welcoming us for a home UEFA Europa League Cup. So I'm not looking forward to that.
Caroline, where are you at? How's your confidence going into the, obviously on paper, an easier semifinal than it could have been, but Todd makes a lot of great points about this is not a club that takes things lightly or easily.
Well, I think this is just where I go back to feeling like we really need to pick up some momentum in our next couple of league fixtures so that we can actually go into that home leg with some form. I know, and that sounds impossible because we all know
again.
We've written it off. The players seem to have written it off.
The league, Caroline. Why are you dragging me into a conversation about Premier League?
I'm sorry. Okay, back to Europa League.
Okay, good. Thank you.
We cannot underestimate these Norwegians. That is, I think, what I'm most afraid of. Just like the mentality lapse that we've seen way too many times. At the same time, I don't really think that's going to happen. I'm much more concerned about, I'll say, when we get to the final, to be positive. If it's Bilbao. I think if we get United, that will be much more fortunate because we've got a pretty good record against them in recent seasons. And, you know, I can see that working in our favor, but I'm going to be a nervous wreck if we are in the final against Athletic Club.
It's funny. I hear both of you and I agree, but also
here it comes.
But there is a United sort of magic that happens.
That's where I'm going. I could easily see us getting into a final with Manchester United, losing it, and that becoming, obviously that's front page on every single paper in England, and that's just more reason to banter Spurs. Just more reason to banter little old Tottenham Hotspur, who finally get to a European final once again and lose to another English club. Like that's very much like the banter writes itself, and I kind of do fear that as well. I would almost rather face Bilbao and beat them in their own stadium for like what would anybody be able to say after that? Like, honestly, if that were to play out, if Spurs go and win in Bilbao against the club on their own pitch, nobody can talk shit after that. Nobody can say, "Oh, it's just the Europa League." Nobody can say, "Oh, it's."
I mean, they will anyway.
No, they can't. They can't. That's my point, though. You can't say anything.
But I feel like if you're going to get that, if you beat Manchester United in Bilbao as well, I feel like you're going to get that bonus. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you're probably right about that.
It doesn't matter, dude. By hook or by fucking crook, at this point in time, we need a goddamn trophy. I said at the beginning of the season, 17th in a Europa League. Fucking sign me up, and we're barreling toward that shit right now.
Now, Todd, I'm gonna move toward wrapping this pod by asking you a question this week.
Hit me.
4 months ago, did you actually think that this was possible?
No, because I didn't think that we would ever be this poor in the league, but I didn't think that we would legitimately have a starting 11 of injured players for the majority of the season.
Yeah, it's true, man. It's true. It's wild that we're at this point. I'm glad we are, because I was dreading, as the person who, you know, kind of puts together a little bit of a rundown for each show and tries to plan things. I was really dreading the whole, oh my gosh, there are still like 6 or 7 Premier League matches left, and we've got to figure out something to talk about on the podcast for them. Now we at least have like a little bit of momentum and some things to get off of our chests, and we can build it up.
We're likely going to lose our next 2 Premier League games, so at least
which is fine.
To look forward to.
By the way, that's fine. And if we do, we do.
Is it so?
Well,
yeah, dude, we got, like I said, you guys are like, oh, mathematically, we can still get. No, we got our 37 points. That was the threshold. That's always the threshold. We got our 37 points. We're fine.
For
Hey,
me,
man.
it's a morale thing at this point. Like, we got to pick up some points in the league just to feel better about ourselves.
Yeah, that's
frankly.
fine. I'll take it. I'll take a draw. I'll take a draw with Nottingham Forest and a loss to Liverpool, and then we go in and smack some Norwegians around. I'm in. Wait,
If
where's
I can
the Liverpool
answer Andrew's question about 4 months ago, vibe check, I felt more confident about it 4 months ago than I do today, actually.
Really?
Because
Suss that
even
out for
though
me.
I will explain, because even though at that time we were in the pits of the injury crisis despair, I still felt like I saw our team identity was still in place, hanging on by a thread, but still there. And in recent games, I have not necessarily always felt like I'm watching Tottenham play. And there's a lot of extenuating circumstances, of course, but I just would like to feel like we get closer to looking like ourselves before we get to a potential final, before I feel
so
confident.
value that perspective. I validate and completely appreciate like where you're coming from with that perspective, because it hasn't felt like we've been watching our Tottenham. And 4 months ago, before everybody got injured, it was like, okay, what are we gonna do? And then it all went to pot for the majority of the season, and we lost Vicario, and we lost Mickey and Cootie, and we lost Decky, and Sonny's a shell of his former self, and we lost Madison for a while, and on and on and on. And all I've been waiting for this entire season, Kaz, is for the team to actually get healthy and start playing together and us gel and look like our Tottenham again. And I think that with Decky's health coming back into form, I think now, even with Son kind of being sporadic and the emergence of Tell as a viable option, that shot he had off the wing today was very pretty, even though it was a good save. But I think Decky getting healthy is the glue that we need to see this team gel as we go into the business weeks of the season now.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And there's going to be a lot of talk about these next two matches. The schedule is, for those who missed it, the schedule is what kind of threw us off this week. Because the men don't play again until Monday. They don't play Sunday, which is the day we normally pod. That's why we're doing a pod now. We're probably going to come back with a pod after Monday's match, or maybe Tuesday, we'll see. But Spurs women do play on Sunday, and we would encourage everyone to tune in there. Caroline, there was news this week of a contract extension for Eleanor Heaps. Do you want to update us on that and maybe give us a little bit of a look ahead to Sunday?
Yeah, so Eleanor's staying until 2028 now, which I think is a positive. I liked what we saw of her in her little run of games that she got before Lisa Kopp came in. And obviously the club feels like, her development has progressed since she's made her breakthrough into the first team. So, yeah, I think this is a positive, especially considering that Becky Spencer it looks like probably going to be on her way out, even though she had also signed a contract extension not that long ago. It does look like we're going to have a little bit of, change. And so having Eleanor as that sort of consistent through line will be nice. But otherwise, I think just, I'm just curious to see if we can end this season on a positive note, like any kind of positive note on the women's side, because it's not been a great, 2025 so far. And it's interesting that we have Aston Villa up first, because they have had kind of a similar trajectory, I would say, kind of underperforming based on, I think, expectations for them. And yeah, I don't know. It's good that the men's team is still in the Europa League, and we have this thing to be excited about for the end of the season, because I feel like on the women's side, we're kind of just like, all right, let's get to the transfer window. Let's do it.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. It's very much what the men are going through on the league side as well. It's kind of a similar type of thing. So no, all good things there. And like I said, we'll be watching that Sunday, and then we're gonna watch Spurs on Monday, which again totally threw me off. Nottingham Forest on Monday. We'll pod about that at some point the next week, and then Liverpool after that, and then we're right back into this tie that everyone actually wants to talk about against Bode. So we'll get to that when we get to it, May 1st and May 8th. And it you mentioned it a minute ago, Caroline, but like, okay, we don't have to worry about this till May. Well, we're already halfway through April, which it feels like this month is flying by, and this competition seems to be flying by. We're really down to the nitty gritty here, so it's really something. But TC, go ahead.
Well, a couple of things to point out on that front is that the fixtures as they currently stand, and this is subject to change, obviously, we're scheduled to play West Ham on the 3rd of May and Crystal Palace on the 10th of May.
Yeah, those will get bumped a day, I'm sure.
Those will get flexed a day, hopefully, but we're still right in the middle of London derbies, like, because Aston Villa's right after that. So it's, I mean, we kind of are where we are to end the season in the league.
Yeah, again, none of those matter to me. I mean, hell, I think Mikey Moore should play on Monday. Should start. Like,
I'm in. Totally
like,
in.
That would be nice.
Yeah, dude,
it would
what
be.
if we give Kinski in goal? Kevin Danzo gets a start. Yeah, dude, rotate, play the kids. Fuck it.
And you know what? Let's give Nuno one. Like, cheers, Nuno. Good for you, buddy. Like, hope you guys make it. Hope to see you in the Champions League next year, Nuno.
Yeah, hope I get to see a Chris Wood Champions League goal in a Nottingham Forest kid next year.
Oh man,
I have no beef with Chris Wood. You know, he's a professional.
Shout to you. There are too many heartbreaking moments from shoddy Burnley sides from Chris Wood for me, and sorry. Anyway.
No, I hear you, man. I hear you. I think that is going to do it. We'll move to wrap here for this Thursday episode of The Depot. Be sure to check out our episodes on our YouTube page, youtube.com/Tottenham Depot. Check us out there. I know Caroline's got family who have been checking it out on there and very, very much enjoying the YouTube presentation that we're putting together for you folks. So if you're not a YouTube person, leave us a rating and review on your podcast app of choice. That is your duty. Your solemn duty to us for presenting you some post-match reaction on this fine Thursday and help spread the word about the show. You can also follow us on the socials at Tottenham Depot. You can follow Scott at Scotchy Bird. You can follow Caroline at CG Stepco. Follow Todd at TC_show. And you can follow me at A Stepco. But of course, most importantly, follow us at Tottenham Depot. We will be back, like I said, sometime early next week following these two kind of wrapping around the weekend matches. We'll talk to you about it all then. Until then, as always, come on, you Spurs.